Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Secretary. When we look at the number of individuals that are detained by ICE, roughly on average, there's been about 39,000 detained this year. My question goes to the FY24 appropriations bill that was passed a few weeks ago and the funding level that was submitted there and passed for detention. Is that something that we need to continue, in your opinion, for FY25 to allow you to be able to detain the number of individuals you need to?
Yes, Senator.
Thank you very much. When you look at encounters, obviously coming across the border, we know there's been a lot of discussion about known gotaways and people that we've seen, but we don't know who they are, where they're going, or what their intentions are. The FBI director warned that he is increasingly concerned that terrorists may seek that opportunity to enter the U.S., and he's concerned about what that does in the interior of our homeland. And so I know that that's something that you probably pay close attention to as well. Is that something that you agree with? Just when we look at what's happening in the interior, it just increases threats across the homeland.
We are indeed very concerned about it. The safety and security of the American people is our highest priority. The bipartisan legislation would have provided us with additional staffing that would have strengthened the security of the southern border.
Yeah, and I am a big believer we've got to do our job right now. And so as I look at FY25, it is my goal to make sure that we get these dollars in the exact right place possible. I would love to see Congress start to do our job on time. I think that the American people deserve it, and I think every time we drag our feet, they're the ones that pay the price. You know, the last time that we actually passed all 12 bills on time was 1997. I think it's not only fiscally irresponsible, I think it's morally irresponsible. I think you need to know what your budget is, and I think when you look at something like a supplemental, you have to actually have base funding first. So my goal right now is to make sure that in FY25, we stretch every dollar, we put it where it matters, we put it where it can help you and help the courageous men and women that work in the Department of Homeland Security do their jobs. So I am laser focused on that. And in that, I really do appreciate the work that CBP and ICE have done in their seizures. I think they've grown when it comes to fentanyl and other illicit drugs. They continue to seize more and more, which obviously we know that means that's less that can get into our homeland. However, I know we can't simply seize our way out of it. And so would love to know from you, where would be best to direct dollars? You know, what are you doing to actually disrupt and dismantle that transnational criminal organizations and kind of the flow of that? And is there a place, maybe more HSI agents and others that would help disrupt that even more?
Ranking Member Britt, more personnel is certainly one element of the answer. More HSI agents, more support personnel for the agents, more Customs and Border Protection officers and agents, more funding for technology. I am listing the different things that the bipartisan legislation would have delivered.
Okay. When we look at the Coast Guard, I strongly support the Coast Guard, and I'm proud that Mobile is the home of the Coast Guard Aviation Training Center, and I'm very proud of the offshore patrol cutter being built in Alabama. However, that's just one of the pieces of a very large Coast Guard shipbuilding strategy. I'm concerned with many other Coast Guard acquisition programs, which seem to be plagued with various issues. I am especially concerned about the status of the Waterways Commerce Cutter Program and the Polar Security Cutter Program, which have been faced with significant delays in recent years. I know that you've heard a number of my colleagues speak about this on both sides of the aisle. And I'm just taking a look at it. You look at the Waterways Commerce Cutter, which was intended by Congress to be a small business shipbuilding program. It's faced legal challenges and other significant contracting challenges in recent months. And as the daughter of two small business owners, I think it is important to me that our entire defense base, particularly as it pertains to shipbuilding, that they're giving consideration and given every fair opportunity to compete. And I think that that's what we need when we look at things that have just come down Brown and the naval intelligence that was just declassified, looking at the shipbuilding of China, saying they can shipbuild 232 times faster than we can. I think that as many people as we have encouraging that, particularly from a small business perspective, I think that's better for America. So, Mr. Secretary, will you commit to engaging your Coast Guard leadership and looking into the current state of play when it comes to the Waterways Commerce Cutter program and what options should be considered, even if it means recompeting the program to ensure the Coast Guard receives the shipbuilding assets they need in a timely manner and cost-effective schedule?
Ranking Member Britt, I certainly will engage with the Coast Guard.
Thank you.
And look at this program and be in touch with you.
I really appreciate that. And one last thing, when we look at the alleged killer of Laken Riley, who entered the United States illegally in 2022 and then was released under DHS under a grant of parole, I'm sure your department has taken a look at that. And can you explain what specific either humanitarian reason or reason of significant public benefit, as you all know, one of those two things had to be used to authorize his release into the country. Can you explain that for this panel as well?
Ranking Member Britt, there was no derogatory information of which we were aware in our holdings to compel the detention of this individual. It's a tragic circumstance. Our hearts break. I know all our hearts break for the family of Ms. Riley, and we expect that the individual will be prosecuted correctly to the fullest extent of the law.
Thank you so much, Mr. Secretary. I appreciate that.